All right, welcome to Talk-Jitsu episode 6 with Uki Mike, Joey Boretski, and me, Jordan Preisinger from Jordan Teaches Jiujitsu. We have a great episode for you guys today. We're going to take some viewer questions. We're going to just talk about some things like we always do. Maybe we'll react to a Reddit post. We'll see what happens. So let's get started the same way we always do. Let us know how your week went, Joey, and then we'll go with Mike next, and then me after.
So I had a really interesting week. Like the last weekend, I had like this little like a little rash on my neck or whatever. It's like a little circle. It wasn't anything big, but I was like, it was a circle. And I was like, shit, like, oh no, was it ringworm or something? It didn't look like ringworm at all, but I was like, fuck it. We can cut it out. But I was like, I'll just treat it anyways. Like I'll put some ringworm cream on it just to be safe, see what happens. I had to go to a doctor. It turns out it wasn't ringworm. So that's good news, but I was really allergic to that specific ringworm cream. So what started as like a dime-sized rash on my neck turned into like the whole side of my neck as this like red itchy rash, and it was terrible. But thankfully I went to the doctor.
What was it then? What was the rash?
Some sort of like just rash. I don't know. He's like the doctor's like, I don't know, man, like a dermatitis or something. I don't know.
Contact dermatitis.
Oh yeah. I had the same thing. Yeah. Actually, like I thought it was ringworm too. It was like a couple months ago. It was like this patch of like raised kind of, I don't know, like raised skin, and it was like a circle, but the whole thing was filled in. I don't know if that's what yours kind of looked like.
Yeah, exactly that. Like exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I had no idea what it was. That's what they told me too. It was dermatitis, but I still felt a little cautious. I was like, I don't know, if they're right or not, but yeah, I kept rolling. I trusted them, and because it didn't look quite like ringworm, but it looked, a little bit like it. But I've seen ringworm, and it wasn't ringworm. I was just confused what it was. So yeah,
I had the same thing. I went to a dermatologist. They scraped it, sent it away, and said it was contact dermatitis. Said it was basically nothing, just a rash.
Yeah, for sure. Which is funny because, we have a student, his doctor thought he had ringworm for like months, and he wasn't rolling because of it. And then it turned out it was just, dermatitis or something like that. So, for him, he had like the opposite, experience, and it kind of screwed him over for rolling when it didn't have to. So
yeah, I think it was rosacea he ended up having. Yeah. Something that's non-contagious.
Yeah. Which you think, I didn't think it looked like ringworm at all. It was on his face, and I was like, I don't think that's ringworm, but if the doctor says it is, how can I let him on the mats and train anyways? Yeah. Right. So yeah, you couldn't train, and he understood, but it definitely an unfortunate situation. It looked nothing like ringworm at all. And I was like, no, I don't think that's ringworm. And yeah, well, it wasn't ringworm. So yeah, but then you put the cream on, then it kind of made it even worse for you.
Dude, it was my whole neck, like from like my ear down to like the middle of my throat was just like this red itchy rash. It was awful. Like I didn't sleep for like 2 days because I just kept waking up in the night like scratching my neck. And eventually I was like, I got to go to a doctor. Like I got to figure out why my neck is so itchy.
Hard to explain to your students as well. Like, I swear this isn't ringworm or anything like that. Let's roll.
Oh yeah. It's because everyone kind of looks at you like, I'm sure it's not. And you're like, no, it's not, man. I promise it's not ringworm. Like it's not, but I'll get it. And then so I went to the doctor, and it turned out it wasn't, thank God. And I got some cream for like that allergic reaction, which has really helped. But yeah, just a weird, that's the karma I get for trying to be a doctor and treat something myself.
Yeah, right. Man, what really looks like ringworm is granuloma annular. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I think I was pretty close, but my mom has it, and it looks almost identical to ringworm. And I saw on Reddit like a couple of years ago, they had it too, and their training partners were so weary about training with them because they were convinced it was ringworm. But it does look extremely close to it, but yeah, it's not contagious. It's nothing even close. So it sucks for people to get that if they're training in a grappling sport. It'd be pretty frustrating. Everyone thinking of ringworm, but it's like, no, this is non-contagious. This is like no big deal. But yeah, again, everyone thinks it's something bad.
I'm surprised. In the almost 4 years I've been training, I've only had ringworm once, and I thought I had staph once, but it wasn't. I'm very surprised because I hear most people in gyms get ringworm all the time or staph all the time. The blue basement is notorious for, not this blue basement, but Danaher's basement was notorious for staph going around all the time.
Yeah, I think when you belong to a big gym in a big city, there's people coming and going constantly. I think that's probably way more, way more of an issue. Like for us, more of like a small town. It's just us. We do get visitors, but it hasn't been an issue. I've gotten ringworm twice, and that was when I was a white belt and when I was a blue belt, and both times from traveling to training at different gyms than my home gym. Not that that super mattered, but maybe it did because I don't know their cleaning policies, right? So I've only had it twice of an impetigo once, and that sucked, but it wasn't like the end of the world. It's just kind of like gross, like pimples that turn into like yellowish, and it's nasty. But definitely things you want to avoid, and they're way more common of a problem, it looks like. Definitely for big cities, for sure. And sometimes people worry, they're like, oh, I don't want to do jiu-jitsu because I am worried so much about skin conditions, because MRSA, like MRSA, it can be life threatening, and you can get it from jiu-jitsu. But I've never known anyone in real life that has gotten MRSA. I don't think it's like a huge thing to worry about. And skin conditions in general, pretty low danger in them overall for like how much we do, for sure.
I think as long as you keep clean and shower as soon as you get home, you're pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's the thing. Like you want to be as hygienic as you can, and just hope your training partners are as hygienic as you want them to be, right? Yeah. Let's Mike, how's your week been? What's new with you?
I've been working out lots the last couple of weeks. Sounds strange that I put on 7 pounds in 2 weeks. You might think it's because of a certain supplement, but no, it isn't. I actually introduced carbs into my diet. I was keto or carnivore for about 2 years. So when I introduced carbs, I just kind of, all of a sudden, you can see it in my face, I'm a bit more puffy everywhere, actually. But it's helped me on the mats. Even you wouldn't think 5 or 6 pounds helps, but wow, it really helps.
Man, it helps big time. Do you feel better too? Like,
oh my God,
energy wise with the carbs?
Way more energy. When I was just keto or carnivore, I thought, okay, this is how you feel. I guess this is my base. I feel okay. But no, now that I introduce actual proper carbs, I feel much, much better.
Like realistically, keto is not the best diet for athletes and jiu-jitsu. And when I say that, there's people out there that would be like super disagreeing with me. And,
I would have disagreed with you a year ago. Yeah.
Exactly. Just because that's the nature of, to do like athletic, explosive movements, carbs and glycogen in your muscles is, important. But, when it comes to nutrition and strength and conditioning, there's so many differing opinions on that. So anytime someone feels one way about something like that, it's like, just take it with a grain of salt, because some people do have great experiences on keto, but I think overall it's probably not the best diet for jiu-jitsu athletes. But for some people, for sure, like, people I know with the people with epilepsy, it helps a lot. People with autism, it can help. And just people that want to, kind of just have a really strict diet, making it easier for them to, and, losing that initial water weight, it can be definitely a good thing. So yeah, I'm not talking smack about it. Just for jiu-jitsu, I think it's probably not the best diet. That's all.
It helps with autoimmune issues a lot too. It did with me. I have some autoimmune issues, and it did help. And I will be doing keto again. I'll do it probably once every 4 months. I'll do it for a month, just to change things up.
Yeah, I wonder, like, I don't know, but I wonder, when it helps with autoimmune deficiencies, is that like keto itself, or is it just like because it's an elimination diet and there's things that you're taking out of your diet that, would give you inflammation? I don't know.
From what I've heard, it's the sugar causes massive inflammation. And once you take that out of your diet, then, everything seems like a miracle, everything's gone away. But then once you reintroduce sugar, it just, it comes back. So it's a quick fix, but.
Exactly. Inflammation is one of the worst things for your body. So definitely try to, eat like anti-inflammatory food as much as you can, for sure. And for me, nothing too new. I've been working on the dogfight video, and I didn't realize how much work it was going to be. It's freaking, it's going to be like a 20-minute video. And, usually my videos are like 7 to 8 minutes, and like those are a lot of work. But then like making one video is 20 minutes. That's taken up all my time this week, and I can't wait until it's done. And by the time, people will listen to this podcast before it's finished, probably, because I probably won't be done for a couple more days. So yeah, that's been a lot of work. And then other than that, I don't think there's anything too new. I got it. Yeah, I did. So we talked about last time, I was thinking about getting a husky, and I did get a husky. Her name's Luna. And she's like a really calm husky. Huskies can be like pretty crazy, but she's super calm. But the only issue, like, she's been great so far, is that my other dog, I have a pug that's like 12 years old or 11 years old, and he's not too happy about it. But I hope he adjusts. And he's such a friendly dog. I was really surprised that he didn't kind of become friends right away. So I hope it does happen. Yeah, it makes me kind of sad that he's really bothered about it, but we'll figure it out and see how it goes. So
I'm sure in time, they'll get to know each other a bit better. Yeah,
exactly.
It's probably being territorial. Yeah.
So, you know, last time on the podcast, we talked a little bit about Priit Mihkelson, and you know, we were supposed to interview him on Tuesday, but then the software we use, not software, like the website we use, like Riverside FM, it just like wasn't working. So that was kind of frustrating because we were all ready to go, ready to have a great conversation, and it just didn't work. But we've rescheduled for this Tuesday coming up, and it should work because it's working right now with Joey, so it should be good to go. But yeah, you know, Joey, he pissed some people off, that's for sure. And so, you know, have you spent more time, you know, kind of reading up on Priit, or what's your reaction to our viewers' reaction?
Yeah, so I, you know, a lot of people seem to get really offended at what I said, which usually indicates to me that I need to do more research on something, because like, obviously, if a bunch of people are having the same reactions, then maybe there's something that I'm not seeing or I didn't fully understand. And like, I tend to be a pretty honest guy. So like, I say what I think on the podcast. Like, I think I can speak for both of you guys too. Like when I say, you know, the listeners can expect us to always kind of say how we feel. Like, I'm not going to lie to make people happy and say what I think they want. So, you know, I wasn't super familiar. I think I prefaced my statement last podcast by saying like, I wasn't super familiar with this guy's work, but I gave my initial opinion. People didn't like it. So I went back and I watched a bunch of his stuff on YouTube. I watched his video with you, you know, basically just like watched as much Priit content as I could in the last week to see if my opinions would change. I think they did a little bit. But first, I just want to address one big criticism I got from my comments last time, in that when I said what I thought a lot of his stuff was like rebranded, repackaged stuff that already existed in jiu-jitsu, a lot of the comments I got back were people telling me that it wasn't that. But then in the same paragraph, they would say, you know, this is tried and true. It's proven, like Shanji and Salo and the Machados have been doing this for decades. And which one is it, guys? Either it's brand new or other people have been doing it for decades. It can't be both. So,
and what's really wrong with being repackaged and rebranded if it's in a way that's easily understandable for people? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think a lot of jiu-jitsu itself is just the same old shit. Everyone's teaching very similar things. And yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that if it comes down to having a good system, being a good teacher. But yeah, carry on, Joey.
Yeah, and like actually like to like spin off of that, I think people really mistook what I meant. Like, I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, everything your instructor at your gym teaches you is probably just repackaged and resold jiu-jitsu. Like, you know, I do triangles slightly different than I was taught how to do triangles, but I didn't invent the way I do triangles. It's just the same thing I was taught, repackaged, rebranded, resold out to people. Like, this is how I do the triangle. I didn't invent this stuff. I'm sure you feel the same way, Jordan. Like, I know you have some instructionals out on BJJ Fanatics that like I've watched and they're good, but I don't think you would claim to have like invented any of that stuff. It's just your own spin on stuff that already existed, your own, you know, take on it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what instruction is.
Yeah, you know, what I would say, honestly, probably like 90% of the stuff I teach, if not like 95, is just stuff I've learned from other people and then figured out better ways of, no, I wouldn't say better ways of explaining it, but I think I am good at explaining techniques. So maybe, I don't know. But what I mean is like, yeah, I think what I'm good at is explaining things. And I did so much studying, so much research and learning so much that I get to pass it on to people. And yeah, so in a sense, you know, I'm kind of rebranding and repackaging it. But again, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. And I don't think that's a criticism towards Priit either. I just think maybe people kind of took that a little bit out of context.
No, and it definitely wasn't meant as a criticism for him. Like, I'll be honest, like the way I view like, you know, instruction through the ages is like every time a black belt, like someone gets a black belt and starts instructing, what they're trying to do is basically take everything they've been taught and teach the best of that with their own spin, their own little adjustments and what worked for them. And that, to me, that's a lot of what Priit has done with his system. He's taken a lot of these like things that most people do defensively and just kind of like added his own take on them, refined them maybe a bit. And then, you know, now I know he's got like a whole website and program that he sells, which like good for him. Like learning good defense is good. Like everyone should do it. So like if it's something you're interested in, like definitely check out his products, like check the stuff out. It is good. But what I was trying to say is like, it's not like he came up with some wildly new thing and reinvented a wheel. He just took stuff that already existed and worked and made it, in his opinion, better. I have no problem with that. I think that's good. That's what teaching is about.
Yeah, 100%. I think I agree 100%. And, you know, I think lower belts specifically benefit the most from Preet, because I think, like you said, a lot of higher belts or people with higher understanding of jiu-jitsu kind of naturally do these things, you know, understanding how to be defensive, like blocking inside position and using things that are, you know, within a system just naturally, like, or not, I wouldn't, not just naturally, but they've learned before from other sources. Like, you know, turtle is nothing new. And that's what a lot of people do, is they turtle. The running man is very popular. And even hawking too, it's not necessarily exactly like he does, but like, you know, just covering everything up is like, you know, it's not too out of the realm of crazy. But I think that people mistakenly criticize Preet because they don't really understand what a system is meant for. This is what I think, at least. I don't know if this is, when we talk to Preet, we'll, what's it called? Yeah, we'll kind of go over more, kind of figure it out. But, you know, I think that not everyone really understands what a system is meant for, because they see him just like roll super defensive and they think that that's what the system is. That's how you should roll. But, you know, I'm pretty sure that's what he would say. You know, that's not really how you want to do it unless you're like actively learning and practicing it. But like, you know, because otherwise you should use your offense. You shouldn't just let people pass your guard, you know. But these are good tools and good things to, you know, practice. They are good. Yeah, they are good to practice for sure. And one criticism too, which is, you know, people weren't super happy with, you know, because we were talking about the, you know, the pet peeves of upper belts. And, you know, one of the things people had written was, you know, when people go super defensive and just try absolutely nothing. And, you know, you agreed with that. And so did I. And people weren't super happy with that. So let me just, yeah, I want to explain this as best as I can, because I don't think I did a great job in the comments explaining it. But we're talking about like pet peeves of the other person you're rolling with. Okay. So we're not talking about like what's wrong, what's right factually. It's just like the other person you're rolling with, how to, you know, what can annoy them. That's what the question is, right? So defense is definitely very good. Nothing wrong with practicing defense. Defense is great. People should practice it. And me, myself, like, especially when I'm having like a lower energy day, I'll let people pass my guard and do very similar to what Preet does. Just defend and practice that. So I do think that's great. But like, if you do too much of anything in a roll, it might not be pleasant for the person you're rolling with. So like, for example, a great example is like control. You should definitely control someone, hold them tight, cross face, underhook, pin them down in side control. But it's not too crazy of a thing to say that it can be annoying when someone holds you there with no intention of progressing to mount or a submission. They just want to hold you there for the whole round. And I've experienced that before. And, you know, Nikki has too. And that's one thing she hates, when someone, especially when they're bigger, they just hold her down, do nothing. And, you know, but we're not saying control is bad. You should control, but anything you do a little bit too, I wouldn't say too much. Anything you do like, you know, a little bit, yeah, I guess too much of extra, like, it can annoy the other person, because there's a little bit of give and take within jiu-jitsu rolling at the gym, in the sense that like a tournament is way different. You know, we're going way harder. We're using way more strength, way more speed. We're using everything we can. But then when it comes to a roll, some things that are good, you need to tone down a little bit for the person to enjoy the roll. And, you know, is it important if the other person enjoys the roll? That's one question that, you know, you can ask yourself. You know, I can't have a definitive answer for that, but, you know, we're talking about what the pet peeve of the other person is, right? So,
yeah, so I'm going to take a slightly different stance. And I kind of got a lot to say here, so I'm going to try and get to it as best as I can and not ramble on for too long. And I think Preet would really agree with what I have to say. I'm excited to hear you talk to him, because I do think he would agree. And that my personal opinion is there's two parts to good defensive jiu-jitsu: survival and escape. It's not just one or the other. Like, it's good to survive, but what's the goal of jiu-jitsu? Like, if I told you guys, you know, you're going to have a roll with someone, the goal is to submit them eventually, right? Like, that's what jiu-jitsu is all about. That's why we learn submissions. That's why we grapple. You want to get on top, you want to control, you want to submit. So if you're just surviving, you're only doing half of good defense. And I think people watch a lot of Preet stuff where he rolls just defensively, and they think that's the goal, is just to survive. But from listening to Preet talk on different podcasts, I think he would be the first person to admit that, like, the goal is to survive long enough to make space and get out and escape. Like, I know when he was doing the video on your channel, one of the things he was talking about from Turtle was like preventing the hands from connecting so that he could sit through to a guard or escape. It's not just trying to sit here for as long as I can and make the person rolling with me as bored as possible. It's to survive until I can escape. And the example we gave of, like, you know, the blue belt who just shells up on bottom with their hands around their neck. That's good. That's good survival. That's great. But when I'm rolling with that person, like, I'm not, and I'm sure you're the same way, Jordan, like, I'm not here trying to, like, ego boost myself by submitting blue belts as many times as possible. I'm trying to have fun when I roll, and I want students to learn and get better. So, you know, if they're defending, great. Now I'm going to give you an opportunity to escape so that we can continue this roll. My issue isn't with the defense. It's when there's zero effort to attempt to escape, even when clear escapes are given. I mean, the blue belt I used in question, and this is, you know, going to be a little extreme, but I'm sure there were times where I could have, like, from mount, just stood up, gone to the washroom, come back, and they would have still been on their back, hands protecting the neck, and never have moved. That's not good. If you're given opportunities to escape, you have to take those, or else you're just not advancing jiu-jitsu. And it's just as annoying as the guy who sits in mount and you're like, listen, get this guy off of me. I'm going to turn my back. And he just plops himself in mount, makes no effort to submit, doesn't move at all. And then at the end, he's like, good round. You're like, not really. You didn't do anything. You just sat still. Like, we could have just sat next to each other on the side of the mat and got as much out of this roll as we did actually rolling. So I think my issue isn't so much with Preet's system, because I think it's good. I think his goals are good: survive and escape.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think it's very similar to, like I said, about control. And you mentioned on it too. You can hold someone in side control, and if you don't attempt any way of progressing the roll, it can be frustrating for the person being held in side control. And yeah, you can say it's on you to escape, and that's 100% true. But at the same time, again, there is a little bit of give and take, and it doesn't mean that it's not a little bit annoying, right? We can have like feelings when it comes to things that are a little bit too much in our opinion when it comes to rolling with someone else. So yeah, I think that's that clears it up pretty good. Again, if anyone has a different opinion, that's totally fine. Let us know. But yeah, it's always important just to have a respectful, kind conversation. It's like, this is just jiu-jitsu, right? So, it stayed that way. It was fine in the comment section. It was all good. But, I would never want to progress where we're actually mad at each other or whatever. Because again, it's just jiu-jitsu. And, yeah, so one thing I want to touch on too, it was just like it's not a huge deal. It was just a comment I got on another video. Someone said like, oh, Jordan's like a 10 out of 10 in jiu-jitsu knowledge, but his like political knowledge is like 2 out of 10. I'm like, okay, when have we ever talked about politics on the channel? So like, I thought that was such a strange thing, but it's because maybe I think people will get the impression that like I'm like a liberal because I don't want to offend people. But like, again, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a liberal or conservative. Do what you want. I'm very much neither, in my opinion. I think there's great points of both sides, and I form my own opinion. But I'm just like a non-confrontational guy. I don't want to offend people. So if I ever come across any certain political way, it's not that. It's just who I am as a person. So yeah, it's such a strange comment because we never really talk about politics, and I never want to talk about politics on the channel or on the podcast. It's irrelevant to our discussion. It does not help at all. It only divides people with the climate we're in now in terms of like political opinions. So you'll never hear us talk about politics other than this one time, which is just addressing that. I'm not liberal or I'm not conservative. I have my own opinions on certain things, and I'm just a chill dude. So yeah, that was weird to me. So with that said, there was a couple other things I did want to talk about. Let's see. So I asked a question on YouTube, and I got some pretty interesting responses. So I want to talk about that. So first off, we'll just talk about the question itself, which was, I asked, is the gi dying, and is no gi going to take over? And I don't think the gi is dying at all. But I thought it was an interesting question to pose and see the answers. So first, I'll clarify why I think the gi. I'll clarify why I'm asking this question in the first place, because clearly no gi is growing considerably, and the sport itself is growing considerably right now. But just because no gi is growing considerably doesn't mean that gi is not growing too. They're both growing. I just think that no gi is growing faster. I don't think that's hard to dispute. The gi has been ahead of no gi for a very long time. So it's good to see no gi grow as well. And I don't think it's ever going to, I don't think we'll ever get rid of the gi, for the main reason is that like a lot of kids behave better when they wear gi in class. That's just like, they behave so much better. They think it looks cool. They like get that discipline in them just from wearing it. And, you know, there will always be gi kids classes will always be very popular. They'll turn into adults. They'll still train gi. Maybe some will go to no gi only, but a lot of them will still do gi. Gi's going nowhere. And some people just prefer gi over no gi. And that's never going to change too. So, but one thing I thought was interesting was that a lot of people were saying that the reason why gi will never go away is because for self-defense, you want to be able to, you know, grab grips. So like, for example, they were saying like in the winter, if someone has a winter coat, you know, you'd be able to grab it and use it to your advantage. But in my opinion, at least, I don't think that anyone would really grab grips, like clothing grips, when you're in a real fight. I think it would be too much like to think about and do, and hard to grab. Like, you know, especially people wear like I wear pretty tight pants. Like, it would be very hard to grab like a pant grip on me, or like if it's like a winter coats are pretty like slippery and hard to really grab. So I think that would be difficult. And, you know, what do you guys think of? Do you think in a real fight you actually be grabbing someone's winter coat and their jeans and stuff like that, or would you be really having more of a no-gi game during that fight?
I think I'd be having more of a no-gi game during that fight. That way, you know, you can have an underhook, overhook. You don't have to worry about grips at all.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be thinking about the gi at all, but maybe I'm wrong. What do you think, Joey?
No, I mean, hopefully I'd never have to find out.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think, I'm trying to think, like, from a self-defense standpoint, I don't know if I'd want to commit both of my arms to like a collar, because I feel like someone could just punch me in the face if my hands are trying to like grab collars. I think I'd much rather just like have underhooks or overhooks where I'm controlling the arm and the body at the same time. Like Jordan, you and I have both fought MMA. Like, if someone was wearing a gi in MMA, I still don't know if I would reach up and grab the collar, because now I can't protect my head. Whereas if I just like underhook or overhook on that side, they can't really hit me with that arm. So I think in that perspective, probably wouldn't use much of a gi game. The only thing I think might help is like if you had an underhook, like actually like grabbing onto like a belt or like a waistband or something, you know what I mean? Like, as opposed to just having the arm there, like if it's there. But I think probably no gi is like, honestly, both are good, but I'd probably use more no gi controls.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And I think, you know, maybe this is a little factor too, because people are saying that like winter, you wear such heavy clothes in winter. I think people are way less likely to fight in the winter, to be honest. I think in the summer is when people's blood gets boiling, and that's when they really start, you know, getting angry. Not that there's no fights in the winter, but I think that's a little bit of a factor too. Maybe just barely, but just something interesting. So yeah, I was really surprised by that. But you know, we could be wrong. Maybe you know, one video I want to do is like just test out different like uniforms for jiu-jitsu or MMA or something. You know, like try like casual wear where it's like jeans and a shirt. Try like a suit where it's, you know, a suit, and then, you know, same thing with winter clothes, and just see how much it impacts you know, the fight or the grappling match, just depending on how I do it. But yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool, because I'm just very unsure that I would ever grab a collar and sleeve or any meaningful gi grips if I was in a street fight and the person had like, you know, a sweater or winter coat on. I just don't see that happening. But yeah, like it's definitely possible, so I'm not saying it's not possible. And a couple more things. Let's see. I wanted to go over. Let's see. I guess it's not really related to jiu-jitsu, but I just wanted to talk about it anyways. You guys hear about the Dana White? He slapped his wife. Like, his wife slapped him, which is unacceptable, but he slapped her too, which is also unacceptable. So two wrongs do not make it right. Both things were messed up, and you know, yeah, I just think that's not cool at all. What do you guys think about that?
I've been in an abusive relationship, not recently, obviously. Years ago, I was in one for 2 years where I got the hell beat out of me every day. Every day, I could, you know, like clockwork, and I never punched back once. It's just, I don't have it in me. I don't think it's right. I think there's other things you can just walk away. You know, once I got a SWAT, I would just go walk away, go to another room, let them cool down. And then that was it, you know, and luckily I'm out of that relationship and have been for 2 decades, but I'm glad to say I've never hit back, and I would not hit back.
Yeah, you know, because the thing is, it's like he didn't hit back out of self-defense or anything. So people can say, oh, well, it's fair game, you know, equality, she hits him, he can hit her. But it wasn't self-defense, you know, he did not need to hit her. he didn't need to hit her. So like, you know, there's just bullshit. It was really bad luck for the UFC, bad luck for Dana. But yeah, I'm sure Dana's used to that. What do you think, Joey?
I think the whole idea, like I have seen a lot of people say like, oh, she hit him first. It's self-defense. To those people, do you really think his life was in danger? Like, do you really think that he had to worry about his safety there? He got slapped by his wife. We don't know what happened. Maybe he said something completely inappropriate and she slapped him. Like, there's still no reason for her to do that. It's wrong. Don't get me wrong, but he didn't have to hit her back. You know, cooler heads prevail. Just someone hits you like, okay, I'm going to go somewhere else till you calm down, separate that. I just think it's ridiculous to say that's self-defense. If you think that's self-defense, you're looking for a reason to hit a woman. Like that's all it is. You're looking for a reason to hit someone. Like that's not self-defense.
Exactly.
A couple other things I think are really important to note about it. And this is like, again, kind of getting off jiu-jitsu topic, but this is really ridiculous coming from someone who's supposed to be starting some sort of like slap league thing. Like,
I know, right?
What kind of publicity and look is this? You're supposed to be starting a slap league and you're out here slapping your wife. And I know he said like, oh, this is the first time that's ever happened, which it could
First
be
time in public.
Yeah.
I find it very hard to believe that the first time you've ever slapped your wife somehow happened to be caught on camera. That seems really suspicious to me, but like I have no proof. So I guess I have to take him at his word for that, even though, you know, Dana's not necessarily on record always as being the most truthful of human beings. So take it for what it's worth. But like, this is just, the slap league has to be done, right? Like this has to kill that. There's no way they can go forward with a Dana White slap league after he's on camera slapping his wife.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, when it comes to self-defense, true self-defense, it doesn't matter what gender they are. If you're actually defending yourself, you know, you gotta defend yourself. You can't let someone actually end your life or severely hurt you, right? But like, again, that wasn't self-defense, so that's inexcusable for both parties, 100%. And you know, it's still a little bit off topic from jiu-jitsu, but like, I think the slap league is so stupid because like they're just giving each other brain damage for no, you know, it's not even a sport in my opinion, at least, because I don't think there's too much skill to it. It's more like, I can slap you harder, and now let's see if, you know, your brain can take it or if it can't, and if you're going to go unconscious. So that's like the dumbest sport by far. I would never participate in something like that. I don't even like getting hit and sparring, you know. So actually, you know what's funny? I feel bad about this, but I was watching a sparring video of me from like 2017. It was me and you, Joey. And man, I used to spar so hard, Joey. So I just apologize. I was watching how hard I was hitting you. I was messed up, you know. I was like just cringing. I'm like, what was wrong with me, you know? And I remember back then people telling me I was going too hard, and you know, man, it's not funny. I shouldn't have done that, you know. But I'm not making excuses for myself, but like you definitely learn over time in striking and jiu-jitsu, like proper etiquette and like how hard you should go in striking and sparring. And I really understand that now, but definitely when I was first starting, I was like, let's just bang, let's go. So sorry to hit you so hard, Joey. My bad.
No, I think it's important to like I think we both kind of understand that like you and I can handle that. Like it's kind of about knowing your training partner. It's a lot like jiu-jitsu. Like you and I can roll really hard because we understand that we can both handle it and are like in agreement that that's fine. So like, you know, I know we've had some relatively intense sparring matches in the past, and like I think it's okay because like we just understood that this was okay within us. And like I know you're an adult and I'm an adult, and if I felt you were going too hard in the moment, I would always just say like, hey, that was a little too hard. Let's tone it down. So like I think that's really important with training partners, especially when you get into things like MMA. It's just, you got to trust your training partners, and you have to be vocal about yourself and your own safety. Like if you ever feel unsafe, speak up. Like I know you said you felt like you went too hard, and if I didn't say anything, then I felt it was fine in the time. But like, you know, if I did, I would have said something.
Yeah, that's true. And like you made a great point. That's for everyone listening. Very important to always tell your training partner if they're going too hard or going to this, to that, too defensive. No, I'm just joking. But like, you know what I mean? To tell them it may do something that's uncomfortable for you for sure. And in the same time, we were training to get ready for fights. So like, you know, you can go a little harder in that sense because, you know, you're getting ready for something, for a real fight. But yeah, definitely I went a little, it was cringe. It was way too hard. But yeah, I'm glad you, go ahead, Mike.
Do you think that Dana White should be fired? Because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, that he has let fighters go for the same sort of actions.
Yeah, personally, I think probably not. I think obviously what I think he did was super messed up, but I don't think that, I don't know, it's worthy of him losing his job over, but that's just my own opinion. What do you guys think?
I think it's tricky because, like Mike said, like they have cut fighters for domestic abuse incidents. And how could he in the future, like let's say 2 months from now, a fighter who got, charged for like hitting his wife or something, how could Dana possibly say, I'm going to fire you for like a breach of our code of ethics, having just done that? So I think it's really interesting. And I know ESPN, who the UFC has deals with, has asked their employees not to comment on it. And there's been some articles released that have been just absolutely reprehensible, to say the least. I think Kevin Iole wrote one that I don't know how anyone could have published that article in good conscience. It's one of the most disgusting things I've read. Basically just completely supporting Dana. And it's baffling to me. I don't know if he should lose his job, but I think there definitely has to be some, like UFC's affiliated with ESPN and Disney, who are like multi-billion-dollar companies. And I think the people at these companies have to be looking, going, this is the guy that's representing a product we're affiliated with. I don't think someone should lose their job. I like to, I'm usually of the belief that like your personal life and your job should be as separate as possible. But when you are a public figure, you're responsible for your actions, especially if they're caught on camera. So like if he got fired, I wouldn't be mad about it, but I'm not going to be out here with pitchforks calling for, his termination.
I'm not a big cancel culture guy, but I don't know if you saw Ariel Helwani's take on it. I agree with him on his. He should take a break for a while. Take a couple months off, take mandatory counseling or whatnot. You know what I mean? Whatever you got to do. But I'm not big on canceling people. I think second chances are needed.
Yeah. I don't think they should condone the behavior at all. Yeah. But I'm just not sure if it's worthy of losing a job. I feel very conflicted there because, again, I think it's completely awful what he did.
Yeah,
for sure.
Disgusting. Yeah.
And while we're talking about, somewhat controversial things, might as well talk about one thing that, is a little bit interesting. So Firas Zahabi said, about a month ago on a podcast, he said that people that let their wives roll with men are cowards. And, I think it's fine if he doesn't want to roll with women, go ahead. Or I'm pretty sure he doesn't roll with, homosexuals as well. And, if you don't want to do that, you roll with whoever you want. But to call people like, me and Joey and other men who have wives that train cowards, come on, man. That's like, we don't insult you. You don't have to insult us, especially with such a stupid opinion. That's just a stupid opinion, for multiple reasons. One, it's not like I let Nikki do anything. She's her own person, can do what she wants. And then two, it's like, I don't think anyone is doing anything bad to her, and she feels that same way too. She just wants people to roll with. And one thing Firas said was like, it's impossible not to have like sexual thoughts while rolling with a woman. It's like, well, maybe for you, so don't pin that on us, don't pin that on us. Right. So yeah. What do you guys think about that? Where do you even start?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I think it's horrible.
I think this is the most backwards and outdated take that you could possibly have. Yeah. I know Firas is pretty conservative in his religious and social views and has said some controversial things in the past that relate to that. But like, this is just an outlandish take. I mean, in my opinion, and I'm sure you guys might agree, if anyone should learn jiu-jitsu and self-defense, it should be women. Like,
exactly.
I feel a lot more comfortable, like my wife works downtown in a larger city now, like her car's in a parking garage. I don't know if there's cameras. Sometimes she works till late at night. I feel a lot more comfortable with her going to work, knowing that like she could probably at least competently defend herself. Like if she didn't know anything, you'd have to be a little worried, like walk around downtown in a big city late at night. Like that can be scary. Like things can happen. That's the reality we live in. And if Firas is saying that people shouldn't let their wives roll with other men, like how else is she supposed to train? You know, if there's only one or two other girls in a class, how else is she supposed to train? She has to train with men. And even further from that, it's probably not going to be women who would be attacking my wife in an alleyway. Like, I think that would be really weird. So if anything, for self-defense purposes, women should be training with men as much as possible, because unfortunately in the world we live in, that's who you'd be most likely to have to actually defend yourself from. So I just think this take is absolutely ridiculous. It is really insulting to people like me and you who have wives who train and enjoy the sport. Like, you know, we're trying to grow jiu-jitsu and make the sport bigger, and things like this just have the opposite effect, especially when people maybe outside the jiu-jitsu world, because Firas is known mostly as an MMA coach. So you get people who are MMA fans who might read his articles and his take. And if this is someone's first glimpse into the jiu-jitsu world and they think that that's how all gyms or, you know, most instructors think, like, you're doing jiu-jitsu a disservice with these kinds of takes. Like, you should be trying to grow the sport, not, you know, add more barriers to entry and make it more uncomfortable for people. So I really can't get on board with that take. I respect Firas as a coach, but I think this is just ridiculous.
There are pigs out there. We all know that. There are men out there that are horrible, that should not do jiu-jitsu, that maybe only roll women just so they can get close to them and touch them or whatnot. But those guys, they get weeded out, I find. I've never run into one myself. I've only been to one gym, like I said before. But the last thing on my mind, I'm trying not to get strangled. I'm trying to pass a guard. The last thing on my mind is anything sexual in nature whatsoever. I don't understand how he can say that every man... What was his quote? Like, oh, you're the only man that is so holy and clean not to think like this, or something. Like, it's ridiculous. I urge people to go look at that, his take on it. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I'm sure for you guys too, but for me, it's like I've never had that thought while rolling with a lady, never. And yeah, again, I'm sure it's with you guys too. So, and I'm not like lying here for us. You know, it's very normal for you know, people not to feel that way. It's really abnormal, I think, to feel such a sexual desire while you're rolling with ladies. And just like the thought of Nikki not being allowed to train or not training with us with all the guys or whatever, it's just sad, because, you know, I enjoy Nikki training with us and, you know, training with you, Mike, and all these other guys. It's no issue at all. There's no sexual you know, connotation to it whatsoever. You know, I have a daughter too, right? So you know, at what point should I not allow her, in air quotes, to you know, to roll with other boys and men, right? What age is it going to be unacceptable for us, right? So that's just some bullshit right there. I always want Audrey, my daughter, to train with whoever she wants to. And if someone were to be all like weird and whatever, then I'll deal with it. But we never had that problem ever. And I don't imagine us running into it unless we run into the wrong person that is really weird that way. So, and I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, not all men are like that. I would say the majority are not like that. So yeah, you know, it's like, let's see the reaction to this topic, right? Not from our viewers. I'm sure our viewers will, you know, I'm pretty confident they'll agree with us with this take, but I mean, like, you know, more like Firas's fans, they come across this. We didn't say anything bad about Firas specifically. Again, we can respect him as a coach and separate his coaching from this opinion, which is trash, right? That's a trash opinion. That's just like, you can't, there's no real way to go about it, right? It's trash opinion. So
I think a really important thing to add too, because like, unfortunately there are guys like that. Like Jordan, you and I are both instructors. If you're a woman who trains and like there is a creepy guy who makes comments like that, tell your instructor. If your instructor's good and your gym has a good culture, that's probably like the quickest way to get kicked out of a gym, is to be creepy towards the women. I mean, most gyms really appreciate their female members because, let's be honest, there aren't as many. And it's important, if you want to bring in new female members, to have an existing female membership base who are happy. So like anyone who trains at my gym, or I know at Limitless, like if someone's ever being super creepy, tell one of the people in charge and we'll deal with that really quickly. Yeah, exactly.
That's not going to fly whatsoever. You know, it's just not, we would deal with that so quick. So let's just take a couple of your questions, and then yeah, let's take a couple. Oh, sorry, this is like not for you guys. That's he just used it to talk to me. Let's see. This one is from Guillotine King.
What are you most looking forward to in Tobago?
So yeah, for those that don't know, we have a Trinidad and Tobago Jiu-Jitsu camp coming up, and it's in May, and we're gonna have to close registration soon, actually, which is pretty awesome because we're actually well, it's awesome in the sense that we're selling out, which I'm really happy about. But yeah, I wish we had more spots for even more people. But we have like 30 people now. It's coming to Trinidad Tobago, and what I'm most excited for is meeting fans of the channel and meeting other YouTubers, and just the beautiful country of Trinidad Tobago itself. There's like so many reasons why I'm excited for this trip, and there's so many YouTubers coming. Tyler Spangler's coming, Jedi Does Jiu-Jitsu's coming, Carsaw is coming, who's a blue belt YouTuber, just kind of up and coming. Kieran Lefebvre is coming, my buddy from Australia, also another blue belt YouTuber. I mean, there's also a white belt YouTuber. It's getting more popular that might be there as well. So it's gonna be so many content creators there together, creating tons of content, having fun with our viewers, and training and doing beach stuff and doing the excursions. It's just like, it's going to be amazing. And we're going to do this, like, what I want to do is do it every year. So, yeah, I'm super excited for that. And sometime you guys got to come. But now they're getting sponsors. Maybe it is possible for that to kind of pay for a trip like that, right? Because, we are getting Manscaped is going to sponsor the podcast. We're super excited about that. And, it was funny. I saw comments on Elbows Tight. They're another jiu-jitsu podcast, great podcast. And someone wrote like, do you really think people are going to take you serious if you advertise like ball trimmers or whatever? And it's like, well, what's wrong with trimming your nuts, right? Like what is wrong with that? Like, why does that have to be like a negative connotation to it? It's like anything, it's like good hygiene, right? Because, when you're rolling at the gym and like you get some hair on your tongue, you got to hope it's not pubes. You know what I mean? You got to hope it's arm hair or leg hair, right? So Manscaped is going to make sure that there's no question when you get a hair on your tongue, at least it's not yours. So, I think that's a great thing. And one thing too, yeah, maybe it's weird, but I shaved my one leg, the one with the tattoo, just because it makes the tattoo look nicer. And so yeah, I shaved my legs. I'm a weirdo, right? I don't shave the other one, which kind of makes it look even weirder. It's like a shaved leg and an unshaved leg. But I feel like if I shave both, that would look even more weird, because it's not like you can, like with the tattoo, you can't really see there's no hair. You just see a nice tattoo. But if it's the other leg, you see no hair. It's like, what's going on there, right? So yeah, I'm really excited for our Manscaped sponsorship. So yeah, all the viewers, be prepared. There's going to be some Manscaped sponsor placements. You're going to hear us talk about our nuts, your nuts, shaving nuts, all that kind of stuff. So that's super exciting. Yeah, and definitely it would be awesome to have you guys out sometime.
I don't think it'll harm the podcast whatsoever. I'm pretty sure the biggest podcast in the world started out with a fleshlight ad, and that Joe Rogan, right? So, I mean...
Yeah, see, that's something I wouldn't do.
Yeah, this is far more tamer.
Yeah, we're not taking that sponsor. No, I mean, if they paid really well, maybe it's like, maybe it's something to consider. But no, I've turned down sponsors before because I didn't want to promote them, right? And one thing quick too about sponsors, it's like they really make creating content possible. Because, for example, this dogfight video I'm working on, this is literally going to take like 30 to 40 hours, like a full-time job just getting this thing done. And I don't have a sponsor for it. So I'm going to make, and it's not going to get a lot of views, to be honest, not because it's not a great video, but it's just the topic itself. I know it's not going to get a ton of views. So I'm not going to make much money at all for it. This is like a big, like in terms of monetary value, it's kind of a waste of time. But like I said, I don't know if I said it before in this podcast, but I'm trying to care less about views and just care about just teaching great jiu-jitsu. People are going to benefit a lot from the dogfight videos. So even though they put a ton of effort in, it's not going to get a lot of views. So whatever, because I'm teaching people jiu-jitsu. But it would be nice if I had a sponsor for this one, make my time more worth it. Sponsors are important for content creators. So I appreciate everyone that watches, like or at least tolerates the sponsor placements, or if they watch them, even better, because that helps with retention time and whatnot. So let's see. Oh, do you have any?
I was going to say, I think it's great that you guys are collaborating. So many people are collaborating now in the jiu-jitsu sphere, right? I think it's just amazing that everybody gets together and there's no ego, and you just want to help each other, and you all feed off each other, and it just, everybody grows together. Rising tide, lifts all ships, right? Man,
100%. This is the kind of stuff I love. I love just doing things and collaborating with others and creating great content for others. And there are so many nice, great YouTubers out there. And one thing I want to do too, is I want to do so Trinidad and Tobago, it can be a little bit far for people. So I want to do a US camp, probably like January or February of next year. and invite a ton of YouTubers, and it'd be like a YouTuber kind of like retreat. So like, you know, you get to train with your favorite YouTubers. So I want to pick, you know, everyone's favorites, right? Trying to get them on board, you know, offer them a free vacation or whatever. And we all make content to get together. All like the viewers get to, you know, meet their favorite YouTubers, and it'd be a great time. Very similar to Trinidad Tobago, but just a little closer for everyone. And some bigger YouTubers, not that the ones on coming Trinidad Tobago aren't big, but I mean like Jedi's the only one with the over 100,000 subscribers, which there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But I just mean like, you know, the other ones just a little bit smaller, not small, not talking shit. Okay. But like, maybe like it would be cool to get like Roy Dean or Eli Knight, or, you know, really well-known dudes that people really enjoy. So yeah, that's something I'm working on, and yeah, I get that for everyone. Yeah, that's basically it. So you know, we had a great podcast today, great episode, and I just want to say thank you guys for listening. It's just great having an audience, and sometimes I forget how big the audience is and how impactful, you know, our opinions can be, right? Because we have like 4,000 people listening, but it always feels just to me like I'm just talking to you guys.
Yeah, same.
So, you know, I try not to be careful with what I'm saying. I try just to talk to you guys, but you know, I kind of realize now, you know, what we say can have a lot of weight. So, you know, not that I want to be careful with what I'm saying, but more so just understanding the impact it can have. And, you know, yeah, just like making sure I never have like uninformed opinion or something like that. So, yeah, thank you guys so much. And that's it. We'll see you guys next time. That's pretty good.
Sorry I didn't say